A lot of comment, as you would imagine, on this. 20 minutes after 1 o'clock. Ben says the BBC are now stuck. They know something happened, but they have not necessarily the proof they want. They can't fire someone with no proof, but they also can't put someone on air with such an allegation floating around. And that's kind of really the sort of standoff stalemate that we're at. We'll chat to Akhil Ahmed in just a second, former head of religion at the BBC, now professor of media at Bolton University. Also, Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, our man at New Broadcasting House. First, media lawyer Paul Gilbert. Afternoon to you, Paul.
Hello, Ian.
Nice to have you with us. Good to see you again. Lots of minefields around this. So what would happen if I suddenly named this person? Would I be breaking the law, Paul?
Yes, you would. There's two laws that you'd be breaking. The first would be that you would be breaching his entitlement to privacy. And the second would be that you might be defaming him because and that's probably the key thing here for you as a journalist, Ian, because it really depends on whether you feel that the story, as journalists say, stands up. And it's notable that the Sun newspaper, or indeed any media organisation, has not named the presenter.
But
and that's why
one would assume, this is interesting because obviously the foreign media, they've been naming this presenter because they don't fall under the same legal remit as us. But journalistically, if you can stand a story up and you can argue successfully that it's in the public interest, then you could just about get away with that if you wanted to go there, I suppose.
Well, you could do, if you could. I mean, the key is, can you stand it up? And sorry, we're using journalistic terms.
Yes.
In other words, do we have sufficient evidence that we can put forward to a court to show that what we are saying is true? That's what we're talking about, it being stood up. And because, of course, and this is where the issue of the foreign media comes in. You would be sued in an English court. This will be an English court jurisdiction issue. And it is worth saying, just to touch on the social media side of it, because I know that the name has been appearing in social media, or names have been appearing on social media. That is also defamation. So let's not be.
Yeah, and there are
one rule for you and one rule for anyone else.
Absolutely right. But I guess it could very easily be argued that somebody might have done something that doesn't look great. The optics are awful. It might surprise us. We could be gobsmacked. Could be described as a bit of a murky lifestyle. But that doesn't mean it's illegal. Doesn't mean someone's done something wrong.
And that's, a very important point you make, Ian, because where are we at the moment? I thought you put it really well, actually, where you said that this is now in a sort of standoff, stalemate situation. That's where we are now, because what do we really have here? We have a story that the Sun have run, which is about parents who are unhappy with the way in which issues that they have raised with the BBC, although I think it probably is also because this was raised with the police, as I understand it as well, are not happy with the way that's been dealt with. And the BBC are in the process of investigating, although, as we know, they paused that investigation. That's why I think your description of the stalemate standoff is so right, because, in fact, we have now come to a grinding halt because the police have asked the BBC to halt their investigation whilst they see if they're going to investigate. And you and I well know that the police can take some time to come to a decision in that regard. And therefore, what's going to happen is we wait for the police to make a decision about whether they investigate. We then have to, assuming that let's assume they decide not to investigate, then the BBC investigation starts. We're talking about some period of time now before we're going to get any sort of resolution, whatever that amounts to, in this matter.
Which could be many, many months. Listen, Paul, thank you. Paul Gilbert, media lawyer, with us here on TalkTV. Let's